Welcome to the Little Cahaba River. I'm very excited to be here because places, particularly places like this, when I write about them, help me understand my own thoughts and feelings more. Poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge developed a genre of poetry that does exactly this: explore how places affect our thoughts and feelings, help us deepen them. And they also move through time, explore how our thoughts help move us through time. This genre of poetry is called a greater romantic lyric, and it's what we're going to try today. So I'm going to read you an example of a greater romantic lyric that I wrote. And as I read it, I want you to listen for two shifts, or two turns, as we talk about when we talk about poetry. One is, when I begin, I'm in present tense and I'm describing a particular place. It's a place where my husband and I built our house. And then it turns to where I talk about a memory of my past. And then it turns again back to where we're building the house. So as you listen, pay attention to that, because that's going to be key to writing your greater romantic lyric. To shake another. When heat visibly wavers over our truck hood, we feel like puddles, our skin as thin as frogs. From the broom sage, the rattle of katydids ripples through us. I first felt sound in grade school when a struck tuning fork touched another. Its quaver shook the other fork into its own humming. Evenings then, when the pine shivered with the chirr of peepers, I wondered how frogs carry quivering metal inside their tenderness. Today, pressing my cheek to our house frame, I hammer, listening to how all the driven's nails resound. Each strike deepens the note ringing out from here to beyond the ridge. In it, I feel the reverberation of hammer, anvil, and stirrup, of when he first called my name, setting what is tender and metal in me abuzz.
Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean, rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground, my father digging. I look down, till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it.
So the first step in writing your greater romantic lyric is to think about the place, or to choose the place that you want to write about. You can write about the place that you're in right now. It doesn't have to be a natural area, although that's fairly traditional. It could be a place that you're fairly familiar with. When I wrote To Shake Another, I wasn't actually writing as I was hammering, but I did write about it in present tense. So you want to write those first 4 lines of your poem as if you were actually there. And paint a picture for us. Let us know what things look like, what things sound like, what things smell like. Make us feel like we're really there. You can pause the video and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so now that you've written your first portion of your greater romantic lyric, I want you to think about where your mind wandered off to as you wrote. Did you think about a memory, or did you wonder about the future of that place, or the future in general? If your mind didn't wander off, then you're like a master of like yoga or meditation, hats off to you. So you might want to reread your lines. What does it remind you of, or what does it cause you to wonder about in the future? This is the topic for your second section of your Greater Romantic Lyric. You want to make that turn to that memory by writing about it in past tense, or if you're wondering about the future, you want to make that turn to what might the future hold and write about that in future tense. And please make this as vivid as possible. Give us all those sensory details that you can. What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What do you imagine it could taste like if you're writing about future tense? Now you can pause the video now while you work on this second section. Try to write at least 4 lines, and we'll come back and finish your Greater Romantic Lyric. Alright, so now we're ready to write the final section of your Greater Romantic Lyric. So in this section, you want to return to the place that you are writing about in your first section. You also want to write about it again in present tense. Make sure that it's really vivid. Talk about what the breeze feels like. Talk about what things smell like. And the real challenge here is you want to describe how your contemplation, either that memory that you conjured up or your musings about what the future might be like, how it changes or deepens your understanding of this place that you're writing about in present tense. Try to write at least 4 more lines in this section, and that will complete your Greater Romantic Lyric. So if you want to pause the video while you finish up, please do, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more. So now that you've finished writing your Greater Romantic Lyric, let's hear it aloud. Find the person that's closest to you and read it to them. I'm sure they'll love it. And I would love to hear it too. If you could send it to us at info@cahabariversociety.org. I would like to see it on video or as a text. And if you are willing to share it with the world, please give us permission to do so. I'm sure other people would like to hear your Greater Romantic Lyric, and it'll help them writing theirs. Thank you.